Hello, friends. Welcome back to my car on this Monday, in the aftermath of Canada officially eliminated from the World Cup when they got their butts handed to them 4-1 at the hands of the Croatians on Sunday morning. That more or less, I got to be honest with you, man, more or less kind of ruined my Sunday, despite the fact we had a very, very good NFL weekend. Well, more on that as we move along. Welcome to my car, my Ash Gregoire Shaman Nissan Maxima SR trim line, proud sponsors of In the Car with Star. Hopefully, you're still taking advantage of the Black Friday Super Special Extravaganza Extraordinaire at littlebearonline.com. Don't forget the promo code scrolling at the bottom of your screen, In the Car 10 at checkout. Savings up to 80% for all your dog or cat's needs at littlebearonline.com. Promo code In the Car 10. And of course, my friends at K-Stop Gas Bar and Depiner Highway 138 in Ganawage. Premium fuel at discount prices and the best snacks in the snack game. Highway 138 right over the Mercier Bridge. Tell them In the Car with Star sent you. The Montreal Canadiens quiet weekend in the aftermath of their 2-1 victory over Chicago. Kirby Dach scoring the shootout winner, putting the old hand to the ears as he goes back home, the team that drafted him, and ultimately has the last laugh. The Montreal Canadiens also had their rookie dinner, by the way, in Chicago, and boy, oh boy, was the wine flowing. Last time I saw, the Montreal Canadiens rookies got dinged for upwards of $15,000 American for at least two bottles of wine that I saw on their dinner table in Chicago after the Canadiens picked up the shootout victory over the Blackhawks, who continue, by the way, to spiral. The Blackhawks, after yesterday, they got trounced by Winnipeg. Pierre-Luc Dubois scored a pair in a 7-2 Jets win over the Hawks. Chicago has lost 3 in a row. So let's talk about the one-year anniversary. Ken Hughes, Jeff Gordon on the job. Jeff Gordon hired 1 year ago, and so far so great for the Montreal Canadiens. We've reached the quarter pole, you guys. The Canadiens have played 21 games. Game number 22 will go tomorrow when they host San Jose. Then they're out to the Canadian West. They've got games with Calgary and Edmonton this week. The Edmonton game is a Saturday 7 p.m. local time start, local for us. But I want to talk about Ken Hughes, and I want to jump into the rumor mill again as the Montreal Canadiens continue to defy odds past the quarter pole of the NHL season. They remain 2 points out of a playoff spot. They have the same amount of points as the Florida Panthers, though the Canadiens have one more win than the Panthers do. Florida has 10 wins. They're getting hurt. Sasha Barkov, the latest big-time injury in Florida. But Montreal now with 23 points, 21 games in, 2 points out of a playoff spot. Just unbelievable, the competitive balance that we've seen so far. And there's no doubt seeing Ken Hughes give some interviews over the last little while. Certainly saw him in French recently on TVA, actually, where he talked about the focus. Like one thing is kind of clear to me now. The Montreal Canadiens are not going to have the best mathematical chance at drafting Connor Bedard this summer, or the summer of 2023, I should say. I don't believe it. I'm sure of it, as a matter of fact. I'm quite sure of it, as a matter of fact. Knowing that their mantra, always in it, never give up, always in the fight, that this team, I don't see them slowing down. I don't kind of see this run of play where Montreal is going to be outclassed, that the Montreal Canadiens are going to be run out of the building. And look, I understand in the last week and a half or so, the Canadiens have been in what is kind of a soft spot on their calendar year. But that, I get it. But watching this team play, watching how energized Kirby Dach is, like, do you see Cole Caulfield and Nick Suzuki slowing down? Do you see them slowing down so much so that the Montreal Canadiens are going to fall in this trap and are going to spiral down the Eastern Conference standings? It's hard to predict that based on the energy, the output, and the chemistry. It's undeniable. These guys genuinely give the impression that they like each other, that they're friends, that once the game is over, they're like, where are we going next, guys? We're going to the bar, we're going to the hotel, we're playing video games, we're going out for dinner. Like, I get the impression that these guys are really in it together. And then obviously the number one line of Caulfield and Suzuki and Kirby Dach has just been explosive. So yes, I do believe that the Montreal Canadiens are not going to have the best mathematical shot at drafting Connor Bedard. Look at Anaheim is bad. Columbus is bad. Chicago has lost 7 in a row. Heck, the Philadelphia Flyers are on a 10-game losing streak going into a brand new week in the league. All the while, the Montreal Canadiens stay competitive. They score goals, and they're getting good goaltending. Speaking of which, I was pleasantly surprised and happy to see that Sam Montembeault got the call on Friday night in Chicago. The point being, and it should be driven home here, that whether you or any of your friends look at the Montreal Canadiens and you're cheering for losing, look, that's your prerogative. I've said it many times in this space. I am not wired that way. It's your prerogative if you want the Montreal Canadiens to lose so that they can draft Connor Bedard. Fine, it's a very good argument to have with your friends. But the proof is in the pudding. The proof is in the pudding. We've talked about this many times. If Martin St. Louis could coach this team to go 82-0, and Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield and the core of this team can go 82-0, they would choose to go 82-0. To hell with Connor Bedard. To hell with the draft. That's not their concern. Their concern is the product on the ice, who's going, who's playing, and can we win tonight? And what did they do? No hard feelings, Jake Allen. You're not good enough right now. No hard feelings, brother. Sam Montembeault gives the Montreal Canadiens the best shot at staying in a game, at collecting 2 points, and leaving with the W. Jake Allen has been a bit of a sieve, especially early on in games. Sam Montembeault has given the Montreal Canadiens a couple of wins now in back-to-back situations. So, to me, when I saw Sam Montembeault in goal on Friday afternoon in Chicago, I'm like, well, if anybody thought that this team didn't want to win, if anybody thought that this team was deliberately trying to tank, well, that is out the window because they put the best goaltender in. They gave them the best shot at winning. And what'd they do? They won the game thanks to a Kirby Dach shootout winner. So by all impressions, let's talk about what we're hearing around the National Hockey League. We know the Montreal Canadiens already have locked in 2 first-round picks for the 2023 NHL entry draft. Well, it appears that General Manager Ken Hughes now is ready and wants to add a number 3. He wants 3 first-round picks for the next draft next summer. And has apparently been working the phones nonstop. General managers and other hockey executives are calling Ken Hughes. Ken Hughes is making calls. One of the names that we're hearing on the list is Joel Edmondson. Is this someone that maybe Ken Hughes is going to look at in terms of trying to get more bang for your buck, looking at a serviceable veteran defenseman who's tough, who blocks shots, who has gone on deep playoff runs already in his career. And now, even though Joel Edmondson, who was once upon a time a St. Louis blue liner, the Montreal Canadiens have designs on keeping Joel Edmondson, which is good to drive up the price if that's what you're trying to do. If you're trying to start a negotiation war, a bidding war, so to speak, where you can get multiple teams in and we can start going over multiple offers, Joel Edmondson might be that guy, and the St. Louis Blues are apparently willing to listen. And why are the Blues willing to listen? Because early on this season, boy, did they struggle defensively. They struggled in goal. Recently now, St. Louis has picked it up. They're 8-2 in their last 10 games, but they've also allowed 74 goals in 21 games and have a -12 differential. And it's improving. Look, the Blues are getting better. But I think if we looked at the NHL season and previewed it together, I think we would probably find common ground in that the Blues should be a good team, or a team we believe could go on a bit of a run. And out of the gate, they fell completely flat on their face. Now it looks like their level of play has returned, and now perhaps Joel Edmondson is on their radar. Listen, lots of Josh Anderson talk. We've spoken about Josh Anderson a few times in this space as it relates to, is Ken Hughes trying to move this guy? Are the Montreal Canadiens actively trying to shop Josh Anderson? Look, Calgary was a big sexy name a few weeks ago, I think towards the beginning of November, when Darryl Sutter had a hard time finding chemistry with his forward line combinations. Jonathan Huberdeau was buried on the depth chart. Calgary has kind of found their form a little bit, and now the Josh Anderson rumors to Calgary have kind of died down. There's rumors of maybe the Carolina Hurricanes looking at Josh Anderson. And look, I mean, from that side, it does make sense as Carolina has a boatload of prospects. They've got some high-end prospects. But let's not take anybody seriously anytime we're talking about blue-chip prospects from Carolina in exchange for a possible a 3-piece, 4-piece type deal that involves Josh Anderson. There's no way that's happening. It's not happening. Josh Anderson at 28 at $5.5 million. We're not talking about Josh Anderson. Josh Anderson isn't a blue chip player himself. No way a team like Carolina would look at Josh Anderson, who's done what? Josh Anderson showed you that the ability to take games over, even when he came to Montreal and was energized to play for a new team and to get out from underneath John Tortorella. And now you see him with Martin St. Louis. I mean, I like Josh Anderson. Don't get me wrong. But he's not an unmovable player from my side of the table when we're having this discussion together. So when I watch Josh Anderson, yeah, good player. But never do I think the Canadiens could net a blue chip prospect in a package type deal. Hell no to a 1v1. That's just not happening. So if we're talking about Ken Hughes, who's telling reporters here in Montreal that he wants to add to his bounty, Ken Hughes and the Canadiens have 2 first-round picks coming up next summer. He wants a third one. How do they get there? Hard to envision a scenario in which Josh Anderson is part of a deal, or Joel Edmondson, as we talk about this one veteran player. Maybe that's the one veteran player that Ken Hughes could look at and try to get more of a bidding war. As we know in hockey, as we get deeper into the season, injuries start to pile up. Contracts, you're moving players around. You can never have too many defensemen. That's why today I like Joel Edmondson as the veteran player that is more likely to move ahead of everybody else. I'm going to put Joel Edmondson at the front of my line here when it comes to the possibilities of Ken Hughes making some decisions. Adam Foley joining the conversation this morning. What up, Adam? Very competitive team, fun to watch, dude. You nailed it, Adam. This team has shocked me, man, and I don't use that word lightly. This Canadiens team has shocked me with their level of play. I mean, I believed, and if you go back here, and I don't want to be the I told you so guy, but I'm going to be here. If you go back to a year ago when Martin St. Louis was hired, and we were talking about the relatability factor, Martin St. Louis' strongest asset as a coach, as a communicator, is his relatability. We spoke about that a year ago. Here we are, about more or less 10 months later, and now stories about Martin St. Louis' relatability are making headlines. It's very easy to connect the dots. This guy lived a life. This guy was an undrafted Vermont Catamount player who went on to win a Stanley Cup and an MVP. How in the hell do you not come close to relating to what Martin St. Louis is telling you? Especially if you're Nick Suzuki, especially if you're Cole Caulfield, even if, heck, you're Caden Gooley on the back end. When Martin St. Louis speaks, you stop what you're doing and you listen to what the coach says, because he comes from an area of deep knowledge and deep relatability. And that is one of the strongest things Martin St. Louis brings to the table. And while he's figuring out the plus and minuses of his young players, who goes with whom, power play combinations, 5 forwards, 4 defense, whatever the combination is that you want to do here, Martin St. Louis will ultimately fall into a system. I don't think he has one yet, but we're getting close. And this team, to Adam Foley's point here, thanks for the comment, Adam, they are fun to watch, and they're always in it. That is their mantra, always in the fight. And you can thank Martin St. Louis for adopting that. So that's kind of where we are now. And it's no surprise, I should say, why Ken Hughes believes that his best hire since he's been on the job is Martin St. Louis. And I concur. I mean, I can't think of anything other than how the Montreal Canadiens ended up with Martin St. Louis as their head coach, what he's brought to this team, and how I honestly believe he's expedited. He's put a rush, go on the Montreal Canadiens rebuild. And let's talk about this rebuild here for a second, if you don't mind, because right now the Canadiens are doing a much better job than I'm going to say it. Than you thought, than I thought, okay? We're all in this together. We're all pleasantly surprised by how the Montreal Canadiens are doing this, but I don't think Ken Hughes should lose the plot here. The plot is still rebuilding this team in a very smart, educated, patient way. And while this team has done a lot of heavy lifting, more so than any of us thought, the focus has to be building for the future. And so whether this team is going to sit on their 2 first-round picks and do something with those picks, or are they going to add to those picks, which appears Ken Hughes' stated goal. He wants a 3rd first-round pick for the 2023 NHL entry draft. So he's been working the phones, and it's been a very interesting ride through 21 games of this season. And I just don't see how a team coached up by Martin St. Louis is going to let the foot off the gas. The only way, guys, I could see this happening, truthfully, is if the goaltending regresses to the norm. The law of averages, which I'm a big fan of, find their home in Montreal, which I'm borderline expecting. But in terms of what the players bring up front, the chemistry and the team togetherness, I don't think that's going away. Goaltending and the inability to cover and recover from mistakes are what will set this team back. Derek, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. St. Louis and Nicholas are the best hires. Player development, skill training are going to be game-changing for the organization. Thank you, Derek. You know what? When it comes to Martin St. Louis and filling out his supporting cast, it really is a breath of fresh air. How modernized the Montreal Canadiens have become, right? Like we spoke about this last week with the now infamous Pierre Gervais book and how Max Pacioretty was the worst captain in Habs history. PK Subban didn't really have any friends. Carey Price is the be-all, end-all of the best hockey players Pierre Gervais has ever seen. Dominic Ducharme never had the room, never had the trust of the players in the room because he never had command of the room to begin with, and on and on and on and on we go, right? Like, all of that was avoidable. The Dominic Ducharme as an assistant coach, it's very difficult to hire from within, to promote already an assistant coach to take over, right? Like a lot of assistant coaches in hockey are the go-between. You need a bad cop, good cop. So if your head coach is a bit of a bad cop, chances are one of your assistants is going to be a good cop. Someone to like kind of massage the ego a little bit, keep things in check, keep everybody happy, keep everybody flowing. And they promoted Dominic Ducharme, who a lot of guys just didn't see the game the way Dominic Ducharme wanted them to see the game. It reminds me once upon a time of Dan Lacroix, who was a former Montreal Canadiens assistant. That was a Michel Therrien guy, And I played golf with Max Pacioretty. He's Max Pacioretty's not my friend. My buddy is friends with Pacioretty, and he brought him out, and we played golf together. And Pacioretty was telling us all these stories, about Galchenyuk, about Gallagher, and then ultimately got into Dan Lacroix, and full stop told me, he goes, none of our guys listen to Dan Lacroix. Like when he talks, like it's in one ear out the other. And this is a Canadiens player, a future captain, and this was, again, hockey, you're assistant, you've been with me for a long time. Let me take you to the show with me. Right. So I always found that very interesting. And that comment has always stayed in the back of my mind. Anytime I see assistants that were an assistant in a team that got promoted to be the coach of that same team, it rarely works out. It's a very, very interesting dynamic across all boards. Costa Ticani Sere Costa. Good morning, everybody. Montreal Canadiens back in action tomorrow against San Jose, out to Western Canada with games against Calgary and Alberta. And it's interesting because, as we spoke about already, that one veteran player that potentially could be on the move is the name Joel Edmondson. The St. Louis Blues, they've had him before. They know who they have, and a guy like Joel Edmondson, and apparently Ken Hughes working the phones. People are calling him. He's making calls, as we've spoken about already. He wants to add to his bounty of draft picks. They have 2 first-rounders looking for a third. So should be very interesting. Everybody's waiting to see when the shoe drops. What's the first move? Is Ken Hughes going to be the guy to set the bar? And what's the move going to be for a team like Montreal that is 2 points out of a playoff spot? And they haven't kind of budged. Win some, lose some, small little losing streak. But ultimately, at the end of that week, they're back to where they were. And that is in contention for a wild card spot as we've moved past the quarter pole of the NHL season. Game number 22 for the Canadiens comes on a Saturday. I always remember the great TSN Bob McKenzie when he used to join us on the TSN 690 morning show. We used to ask Bob, when do we know? When can we look at the standings? When can we look at a team's record and say, this is who you are? And Bob's golden rule was the quarter pole mark. Before we came out with any concrete opinions, concrete judgments about who these players are, who this team is this season, the quarter pole. And I live by Bob McKenzie's rule. So this is who they are. This is a feisty, tough, well coached, team together concept is thriving. And the Montreal Canadiens, I'm going to say it, have put a hurry up on the rebuild. It's not going to take years, my friends. Not going to take years. Kind of disappointing, obviously, with all the hype in the aftermath of Team Canada at the Men's World Cup. Officially eliminated when they got squashed by Croatia in a 4-1 ball game. Obviously, we were all jumping for joy with Alphonso Davies scoring the first ever goal in the Men's World Cup, and it came less than 90 seconds into the start of the game. And that was the only goal. Canada's World Cup comes to an end Thursday at 10 o'clock. Excuse me. 10 a.m. 10 a.m. Thursday, you guys, is when Canada and Morocco kick things off. And Canada eliminated from the World Cup. Kind of ruined my Sunday, to be honest with you. I was all with this hype and hysteria. And, something I'd never seen before. And A1, Canada score a goal. B, Canada pick up points. C, Canada pick up a W. And I'm going to be curious to see what this team brings to the pitch in terms of competitiveness on Thursday morning. I do believe that John Herdman is going to have these guys motivated, amped, that they're not going to get embarrassed. I don't think Canada is going to lose 5-0 and not show up because they're mentally going to be checked out from Qatar because their heart hurts that they got eliminated and don't have a point yet in Group F. I don't see that happening. I want to see this team go out, play on their front foot, be aggressive, bring pride, and leave Qatar with your heads held high because the world has stood up and taken notice, right, including Croatia, with what was a very, very funny front page article with a naked John Herdman with a gigantic maple leaf covering his mouth and a very, very little teeny weeny little maple leaf covering his Franken beans there. This in the aftermath of cameras picking up John Herdman telling his boys after the heartbreak of Belgium's 1-0 loss, now they're going to go F Croatia on Sunday morning, and of course Croatia ran with it. Media in this country ran with it. I honestly think if you heard John Herdman say, we're going to go F Croatia, boys, and you were offended by that, you took issue with that as a Canadian, as a fan of sports, I'm going to say you probably really never played sports. Like, have you ever been involved in a game in which your heart was broken because you left everything out there and you lost, and you have a great manager, and your manager's trying to keep your spirits up and trying to keep the momentum and the good vibes going by saying, guys, don't worry about this. We're going to go F up Croatia on Sunday. That's par for the course, man. That's good coaching. That's good motivation. That's keeping guys inspired and motivated, right? J-Fed, what up? Why surprised? Canada's not good. Not good enough. I bet on Belgium and Croatia. Canada might win a game in 4 years. Well, they might win on Thursday. I mean, the way Morocco played Belgium, probably not, right? But, not good enough. I mean, Belgium, second-ranked FIFA country in this tournament, and Canada should have beat them 3-1, 4-1. But they didn't. They didn't have their they couldn't close on their opportunity, whether that's nerves or not. Not good enough. Not good enough for what? Not good enough for what? To beat France, to beat Brazil, to beat Argentina. Not good enough to beat Spain. Not good enough for what? Not good enough, clearly, to get out of Group F, but good enough that I think Canada is no longer a steamroll country, that when you know that you're going to take on the Maple Leaf, that it's not an easy game, knowing that Alphonso Davies might be the best player in the world at his position, knowing that a player like Ishmael Koney is only 20 years old, knowing that Tajon Buchanan is being courted by the 5 leagues in Europe, and it might command upwards of 20 or 25 million in a transfer fee. Fine. Not good enough right now, but we're close. And we're close, and we're getting closer. So to your point, maybe Canada wins a game in 4 years. But I got to tell you, seeing Alistair Johnson, seeing Kamal Miller, seeing Sam Piet on this team. I'd like to see Sam Piet on Thursday against Morocco. For a guy who's not a big MLS guy, for a guy who's not a big soccer guy, I got to tell you, man, it really moved the needle to see so many guys from CF Montreal make Team Canada on the men's national program. For me, it meant a lot. And I got to tell you, I am an average soccer fan at best. I'm being kind to myself. Champions League rolls around, yeah, I'll watch. World Cup rolls around, dude. I think I've missed one game, and that was Spain-Germany because I wanted to watch football. So, yeah, right now, the World Cup has converted a less than average soccer fan. And I love it. And I love this tournament, and I'm watching all the time. The games today, for example, phenomenal. Like if you're a sports fan, you can't turn away from Cameroon and Serbia or from Ghana and South Korea. These were marvelously played competitive games through and through. So, yeah, I was disappointed. I was disappointed because Canada had played so well in the run-up to this tournament, how they dominated Belgium, and then ultimately lost to a world-class Croatian team that were the runners-up 4 years ago when they lost to France at the World Cup. So that's kind of where we are with the World Cup, and Canada will finish it up Thursday when they play Morocco. And let's cheer for some points, man. I want to see another goal. That'll be a lot of fun. And the World Cup to me has been phenomenal, just absolutely phenomenal. Let's get into Monday Night Football. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers and Indianapolis Colts live on TSN 690. The pregame coverage begins at 7:30 today. How did we do in Week 12? Well, we went 3 for 3 against the spread on Thursday, and then ultimately ended up 5 for 2 against the spread, 2 for 2 in our over-under bets, and 4-1 in our player prop bets. So not too bad. I've got some best bets as we look at Deontay Johnson receiving yards over under 45.5. Johnson has not thrived under the passing stewardship of Kenny Pickett under center for the Pittsburgh Steelers. His numbers have fallen off plenty. Now he gets a Colts secondary that's ready to contend, that's playing in prime time. Indy, for what it's worth, ranks inside the top 10 in coverage, in tackling, and they're top 3 in yards per reception by the opposition. That does not bode well for a guy whose numbers are already way off. So we're going to back Deontay Johnson over under 45.5 points, receiving yards, I should say. I see the comments are coming in. That's why I just got distracted. Costa, Ticane said Costa. I would take Max Domi over Josh Anderson. Domi brings it every night, and he would thrive under Martin St. Louis. Man, you see, Max Domi's putting up good numbers on a pretty shitty team out in Chicago. The Hawks have lost 7 in a row. That would be a fun hypothetical to see. Max Domi under. I hadn't thought about that. That's a good one. Brandon LaBelle, what up, Brandon? Damn, I missed the live again. How long before it's uploaded so I can listen to it later? As soon as I sign off, my friend. As soon as I sign off, just hit. If you go on my YouTube page, Sean Starr, just hit the live tab. You're gonna see a live button there. You see playlists and other stuff. If you hit the live, it should be posted there. When it comes to anytime touchdown scorers tonight, Monday Night Football, Steelers, Colts, Najee Harris, we're getting 2-1. Alec Pierce, we're getting 3.5-1. And I do like the Pittsburgh Steelers plus the 2.5 points. But all those other picks I gave you, I like them more than the Steelers 2.5 points. It's going to be a low-scoring game. 2 pretty tight defenses, respectively, in Pittsburgh and Indianapolis. And when Indianapolis this season, when they face like a top 15 defense in the league, they average less than 15 points a game. And for what it's worth, the Steelers live and die with the blitz. Matt Ryan is the worst quarterback in the NFL in the blitz. So those are the reasons why I'm looking at Pittsburgh plus 2.5 to stay competitive against Indianapolis today, okay? I hope I answered all your questions. Thanks for watching. Listen, if you have any recommendations at any point, I am open to constructive criticism, whether you want different content, whether you want me to do these lives at a different time. I got an email the other day, just to give you an example, right? A guy slid into my email inbox, and our email always inthecar@gmail.com. I think that's my email address. It's either in the car or in the car with star@gmail.com. It's one of those two. But he's like, oh, listen, I'd love for you to do more golf talk, and I'd love more food reviews, right? I haven't done a food review in a while, and I would love to do more golf talk. Like, I've been talking now for 29 minutes, just you and me here. I could talk golf forever. Whether I'm entertaining and I can hold an audience, I don't know. But I love talking golf, and I love eating food, and I love talking food. So That was one person's point of view. And if there are more people that share that person's point of view, then by all means, express yourself. Let yourself be heard. I am here to listen to you. As always, you can find us at facebook.com/InTheCarWithStar, In the Car with Star on YouTube, where you can like, subscribe, and tell all your friends. Thank you, Adam Foley. Great show. Quick and to the point. That's what I'm trying to do, baby. Trying to keep this under half an hour. I'm sitting in my car, obviously. I'm ready to go to the gym. Like I'm ready to go to the gym. Like I got my shorts, I got my shoes. I'm ready to go, but I'm here talking to y'all. So off to the gym I go next. And don't forget, In the Car with Star, brought to you by littlebearonline.com. Black Friday extravaganza super sale for all your pets' needs. Save up to 80% off. You know all that stuff, like you take your dog for a walk, and as we get colder and salt stays on the sidewalk. You ever have that where your dog starts limping, lifting their paw because all the salt gets stuck in between by the pads of their feet? Well, littlebearonline.com has unbeatable high quality stuff for all your pets' winter accessories. It's important stuff, like for real, like those little walkie paws, little jackets and hoodies. Keep your dog warm and keep them protected from the rain or the snow, all this stuff. I saw deals at littlebearonline.com yesterday, 80% off, more than 80% off on some of the deals. So go check it out, littlebearonline.com, hit the Black Friday tab, and then at checkout, In the Car 10, save yourself even more money thanks to Little Bear Pet Store, littlebearonline.com, and of course, K-Stop Gas Bar and Depiner. It's Highway 138 in Ganawage. Just jump over to Mercier Bridge, head toward Chateauguay, and stay on that road. It's the second traffic light. You can't miss it. It's on your right side. It's on the passenger side. If you're heading down the 138 from the Mercier Bridge toward Chateauguay, they've got premium fuel at discount prices. And now with the cold weather, you can stay in your car. Any one of my guys, any one of our gas jockeys, they're there 24 hours a day at K-Stop Gas Bar and Depiner. And of course, they have hot meals prepared daily. Go check out their menu. It's always changing. They had a delicious burrito bowl last week, fresh made BLT sandos made on spot. I mean, it's the place. K-Stop Gas Bar and Depiner. I keep telling you, I wouldn't partner with any business that I don't go to myself. So when I tell you I recommend these things to you, it's because I want you to live your best life as I live my best life. Okay, friends? We'll see you later this week. Don't forget, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. In the Car with Star. Peace.